Hey team, welcome to another episode of the Rugby League Lounge Weekly Show. And once again, I'm joined by Joel from League of Inches. How you going, my friend?
Yeah, good mate. Origin time. It's obviously another great time of the year, and game two after a very good win for a Blues side. So can't wait.
And I've just realised I'm not really doing myself any favours here. I should have been repping the maroon, but hey, I don't have any long sleeve maroon tops. It's not the warmest down here on the coast the last couple of days. So yeah, the blue had to do for now, but I definitely won't be wearing blue on Sunday. And that's why we're talking today. We're going to do a quick Origin 2 preview. It's going to be called the Set of Six preview. And basically, me and Joel have brought three talking points to the table. And yeah, we're just going to dissect them and hopefully we cover most of the main talking points ahead of could be New South Wales, be clinching the series or Queensland force it to game three. We'll have to wait and see. But Joel's going to kick us off with our first tackle. So what you got us today, man?
Yeah, first tackle, and obviously it's the big talking point this week, and it's the naming of the young deputy coming fullback for Queensland in Reece Walsh. And some are seen it as a desperate move, some are seen it as a move that kind of had to be made. There was a few injuries, and he's sort of a bit down the line, probably third or fourth choice fullback at the moment. And unfortunately, that's where Queensland's at. They've had a few injuries there in that position, and obviously no Ponga, no Brimson, and obviously this guy's now the one that has to lead up now. There's pressure in regards to should he have been the player that was named? Should he have been the guy thrown in at the deep end that just been smashed by 50? And is it the ideal circumstance? And I know obviously Phil Gould, everyone's seen that video. He's not very happy with it and saying it's a bit of a joke. But look, at the same time, I kind of can't see where they should have gone if they didn't go Reece Walsh. And I do feel for the kid. I think it is getting thrown in the deep end. It's see if you can sink or swim, but he's been in a bit of form. He has shown he can handle first grade. He was great against the Storm when they played them, and that's a good test for mine. If you can play well against a Melbourne Storm outfit that are full of Origin stacked players, then you can do a pretty good job come Origin. Now, Origin's a new beast altogether. Don't get me wrong. I hope he does well because I tell you what, if he doesn't do well, there's going to be a lot of pressure and a lot of people come down on the poor kid Monday morning, and a lot of papers will have his face on the front and back of the papers. But it's a big call by the Maroons. You can talk a bit more about it being a fan and how you feel about it. But look, as a New South Wales fan, I kind of a bit worried about it because he's very good attacking, but at the same time, I think he's pretty weak defensively. So I don't really mind defensively. I think we should get a few tries still. He's not going to stop any, but he's definitely going to bring a few more tries to a Queensland side that was pretty poor attacking wise in game one.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I was very much looking forward to your opinion on it. And to be fair, I'm actually surprised by your view in a way, but I tend to agree. I've actually, I think you hear more bad than good about him being selected, but there's a lot of angles to look at this. There's probably two angles that stick out. Now, the first angle and the one that's been scrutinised a lot is his personal development and his development as a footy player, thrown him deep end, and like you said, they've just come off the back 50, the 6 loss, and he's obviously only played 7 games of first grade, and everyone's thrown out all the examples in the world how it hasn't been, good to being thrown to the wolves early, I heard Jared Mellon's name get thrown out today. Mitchell Pearce is obviously someone that's dealt with a lot of pressure at the Origin level, and he started probably, I think he was only 2 years in. And then they kind of pushed back the Ponga one because he had Billy Slater there and he was off the bench. So that's how you do it. This is not how you do it. You don't throw him in at fullback when all your veterans are gone and you need to win this game. But let's just look at it just for winning the game. Winning the game, I like it because you guys have we talked about last time, the superior just freak talents. And, Reece Walsh doesn't compare to them, but I think he's our best thing to match. He's the one, if out of all the options we could have fullback, he's the one that I think, yeah, he could make magic happen. And I understand the views, but everybody's had different journeys to succeed. I think even though the Slaters and that aren't there next to him, helping him out, mentors, Thurston, Cronk, Smith, this Queensland team, this Queensland squad has won, obviously, 8 in a row, lost one, won 3 in a row. They won last year. Even though there's players up there, there's still all around there. There's still guys that have won premierships like the Cameron Munsters. Obviously, it'd be more suitable to have those guys, behind the post there when potentially you've done something that led to a try, stuff like that. But I think they'll be. I have faith that Queensland will be doing the right things this week to get him ready to what to expect. And if he goes out and say it doesn't go to plan, I think he will be okay. He's a confident young man, and like I said, everybody has got different journeys, and yeah, I think in terms of just winning the football game, I like the option. Valentine Holmes is a great player. His best value for Queensland
He's on the wing.
On the wing. And I'm one that's actually up on Valentine Holmes as an all-round footballer, but the 2 stints he's had there at Queensland last year and this year, hasn't quite done it. And you can say, oh, given, it's only 2 games, give him another crack. But we lost by 50. Like, we've got to change something. And people say, oh, so, an 18, 19-year-old's going to change that. Well, it's not just him. There's other things that have been changed. But, yeah, I think he gives us more of a chance than we had with Holmes there. So I understand.
The other thing with it all is that it's obviously not an ideal situation for Queensland because you guys, it's not like you've got a full strength squad that you can pick from. You've done this because you're not at full strength at the moment. You've done this because you're down a few players. You're down. The depth isn't quite there at the moment for Queensland, and that's the reason this has happened. Obviously, ideally, you would have brought him in at 14, let him come on when things are tied, but
100%.
At the moment, you just don't do that. And look, as you said, I do think Val Holmes is a good player, but I think he's a better winger. And I did a poll last week on my page, and people agreed. They said that he was a better winger than fullback. So, especially at that level, I don't think he did that good on game one, but none of your players really did. But I think it's stronger to have him on the wing. He's a really good finisher, and Reece Walsh is the next guy up for a fullback. He's the 3rd string fullback at the moment for Queensland, and that, unfortunately, at the moment, that's where Queensland are at. They've got some injuries, and it's now this kid's time. He might not make game 3. Then Ponga might come back and end up getting that jersey, but you've got to do what you got to do for your state, and he's there now.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Like you said, ideally we wouldn't. This is not how we would have blooded him, but we're being forced to kind of look at things differently. And I think he'll go out and have a really good game. He's not probably, I'm not tipping to have one of the greatest debuts ever, but I'm not worried. Like and I'm the main thing I want to harp on is I'm not worried about his development. Like this won't scar him, I don't believe.
Yeah.
But let's move along. Carry on.
No. I was going to say, I know you want to move along, and I can sort of a good segue. I know you've got a few points, but I'll quickly chime in and jump ahead of the queue and jump to a second one as well. But I think we'll find that the new rules are actually going to suit someone like Reece Walsh, and it's probably another reason why you've selected him. And we've seen this year the new rules with its games quicker. It's probably not as hard hitting as it used to be. We're not seeing the massive shots because of the risk involved with if it does go high, then players can go off and basically the team are down a player, either send off or sin bin. So I think the new rule is going to impact Origin where these little men, these quick, skillful men are back into it and they're going to get picked. Remember Matty Bowen used to come on at 14 for Queensland and he used to terrorise the Blues. Every time he would come on, and he would just terrorise. And I can see that sort of player back in now. And I think it's an exciting time. I know the rules got a bit of criticism, but that's for another day, for another video. But I think that's the good part about the new rule is that it's getting these good, quick little men back in the game. And these are some of the best players in the world. They've got some freakish skills. Anyone who's seen Reece Walsh play when he was younger, you've got some of the touch boys as well. Like, unfortunately, Pappenhausen can't play, but his touch background, like these skills are back in our game now, and it can only be a good thing. There's going to be, a lot of high attacking, high score lines that we're starting to see, but I think that's one of the big reasons why someone like Reece Walsh is selected here because it suits him, the style of play at the moment. There's not going to be the massive big hits. Of course, he's still going to get hit. There's still going to be a little bit of niggle and something to try and get at him, but it's nowhere near as bad as it has been over the last few years because of what these new rule changes have meant.
Yeah, 100%. I actually hadn't really thought about that, especially, the speed of the game obviously is at an all-time high. Like you said, someone could get sent off. You're playing 13 versus 12, and those touch footy players that are used to it, that's their bread and butter. So you got the guys like Reece Walsh is able to thrive with open space. We just saw, even though he had probably one of his, he had some down moments against the Knights, and a lot of that was due to the weather, and that obviously the kicking side of it, the bombs was a little bit concerning too. But even with that, he still had moments where he just a little bit of space, wet foot underfoot, wet underfoot, he was still able to, light it up. Talking about kind of devil's advocate, you guys actually lost. I should say, Maroons. We dominated the tackle reset last week, or last Origin, I should say, and still put on 50-6. So, do you think? Let's talk about the ref. This is not my point, but focus on the new rules. They said they weren't going to referee it differently, but they did. What do you think? Do you think it's going to be ref the same in Origin 2? It must be.
Game 2 will be a mirror of how they ref game 1. They'll try and let the game flow and try and keep the whistle away. And he'll be very, very scared to give someone the marching orders because of the backlash. And there's no doubt that the referees try to come out hard before game 1, saying that they're going to ref it the same way, but we all know that it wasn't, and it's the exact way rugby league should be refed. I remember, I think I was speaking to you or someone else, but I remember saying after that game that was exactly how rugby league should be refed. It was brilliant. It was a great game of footy, even though it was obviously a pretty whitewashed performance, but I think this is the spectacle and how it was played. It's all about holding the ball now. Holding the ball is more important. Holding the ball has never been so important, and if you've got the possession, you'll score tries. We've seen it over the weekend where teams are coming back from points and putting on lots of quick tries and things like that. And these are the caliber of players now. We've got the best in the country, best in both states playing in this, and it's going to be crucial. Hold the ball, don't make silly mistakes, you'll end up winning the game.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point in the sense that, I've still got optimism, and then people might go to me like, "How you guys lost by 50? How are you meant to pull back, that many points?" It's like, but like you said, it's very much momentum now. We shot ourselves in the foot last time. Yes, you guys inflicted a lot of pain onto us, but talk about the felt, taking them out. That's a 7 tackle set on the other end. Instead, you guys score. Daddy Evans done penalty. We shot ourselves in the foot, and we're playing. Obviously, we're going to be at home, and I know you're going to touch on that in a little bit later. But yeah, it's a momentum-based game. That's what so a lot of it is about executions. And talk about momentum, I'm going to get into my first point, so a third tackle. And it kind of gave me an insight that obviously we had to change things up, but also just the style we're going to play. And we're going to talk about the benches. Obviously, a bit forced because obviously Harry Grant got ruled out, but Ben Hunt is going to be off the bench along with Dave Fifita, Francis Molo, and I've had a bit of a mind blank on the other one. I believe it's who was the other?
Fodawaker, Fifita.
Yeah. So we'll just go for that again. Hunt, Fodawaker, Fifita, and Molo. The Fifita one surprised me, but I like it. I personally had Papali on my bench when I did it, but I actually prefer what Paul Greens does because I thought we need to bring one of our best forwards off the bench. And yeah, I think Fifita's going to come on, and I think he's going to come on and play in the middle. He's our best forward, I believe, most explosive forward. You can probably put Papali as a best. He hasn't really had the best form, but I like the thought process with this. I'm a little bit. I don't know why the Francis Molo had to be picked here. I could be proven wrong. That seemed like a bit of a Cowboys bias. Fodawaker stood out in game 1 for us, and I like what Ben Hunt can bring off the bench. I think McCulloch will steady the ship early, and then Hunt can come on and add that X factor that we need when the game has loosened up. What were your reactions when you saw that bench? Any alarm bells as a New South Wales fan, or?
Oh, as in for the Queensland ones, I think.
Yeah.
I can see Ben Hunt playing more minutes than McCullough, which is probably a bit of a weird thing to say, but I think McCullough will just take the first 20 minutes or so and then basically come off, and Ben Hunt will probably take majority of the game just to sort of take him away from that initial defence and just read the game, see what's going on. I was a bit surprised with David Fifita, but the more I think about it, the more I can understand why he's starting with Arrow first for a defensive thing. I think Fifita's biggest weakness at the moment is he's still learning the game about defence, and you get found out at this level really quickly. And I think that's sort of where he's sort of come back with it. Fodawaker was massive. He was probably your best player for game one. So he's always a bit of a danger coming on. And Molo, I was a bit like you. He hasn't really stood out, I don't think, this year. And to be honest, I know he probably hasn't been as good as him, but Cohen Hess at that level, I've seen him in the past step up. So I would have maybe given him in the challenge because he's been there, done it before, and he's showing glimpses this year. I've sort of seen him. I've watched a few Cowboys games. I've actually sort of liked where Hess is getting to again. He's getting back to where he used to be. But Molo, for mine, hasn't done much. I don't know. I think.
And
I don't know.
And Molo, it seems like a guy. Like, I remember when Glasby got picked as well and ended up being okay. But, like, I know it's crazy. I'd prefer to start Molo because if I'm going to do what they do with Jake Trbojevic, just do the first 20. And obviously, Jake Trbojevic, I hold on a higher pedestal than Molo. But just settle the first 20. That's why we basically agree why Fifita's good off the bench. Just settle it. Nothing crazy is going to be done. Just, set standard. But when the game's is rolling, players are tired, now we're going to bring on Francis Molo to change the game. I don't think we are, like that was what kind of like if he was to be picked, and hey, they could change it, but I think they're probably going to stay with him with the bench. Anything? Obviously, we don't really. Yeah, carry on.
It's just just quickly. It's sort of like as I'm quickly looking at the props you've got 4 or 5 of the exact same forwards, and I think this day and age, you need some forwards that have a bit more than just run up hard straight, take the hit up, and off you go. Where I feel like Queensland at the moment have named a few players that just basically are good at that and do that. So that's why Fifita off the bench is dangerous because he has a little bit of spark to him, but I feel like Fodawaker, he does it well though, so he's a pass. But Molo, I'd argue this year Papali'i hasn't been great. He's just been doing that. Welsh is one of your hard men. He'll go through it. He's a tick. And for mine, Jai Arrow, even though he's solid for D, he doesn't have much as well for attack. So, to be honest, I'm not that worried about the points thing. I just hope we can contain Welsh. But for the forwards, I think we should be able to get that covered from a New South Wales point of view.
Yeah, and we'll just quickly touch on your bench. Obviously, the one call I was, harping on about. I thought the Jack White one was interesting at the time, and still after game one, I wasn't convinced because at the end of the day, like you pick your utility thinking that the game's going to be tight to break a game open, and obviously you can consider injuries and that. But I think we talk about breaking a game opening and change the balance. I thought Cody Walker should have been picked. Junior Paulo still on the bench, obviously earns a spot. But you have, the interesting situation with Angus Crichton and Dale Finucane. It looks like only one of them is going to get picked unless Liam Martin drops out altogether. What do you reckon is going to be done there?
Well, apparently it's been confirmed that Angus will be on the bench. He's got the spot. So, that came out the last day or so. Junior's apparently starting now. So, he's been given the 10 jersey. So, our bench is White, Crichton, Haas and Martin. So, I don't mind that. It's pretty open. Apparently, Crichton will play more middle than edge. So, and Martin will have that edge role for one of the back rowers to have a little bit of a spell. So, look, I don't mind it. Got some forwards there that, as I was speaking out, Crichton and Martin are very elusive, got a bit to their bow. And obviously, we've all seen what Payne Haas can do for a side like the Broncos who are getting smashed every week. So, he's obviously a talent in himself. And Yeah, I just think our forwards are pretty supreme. If I was choosing an Australian side tonight, I'd be pretty much choosing the whole of the New South Wales pack if I was to say that. And yeah, I don't know if I'd be selecting too many of the Queenslanders at the moment.
I was actually thinking about that the other day, and don't want to go too much off topic, but I probably sneaked the feeder in there somewhere. I kind of went with, I thought maybe Christian Welch for that old reliable, like you kind of maybe need to steady the pack, but you could opt for Jake Dvojevic in there. I thought they might have gone with Dale Finucane because they would have just kind of copied and pasted what Jake Dvojevic did. Like he's the one that could have provided what he did, but I definitely not surprised by that selection. Would you like to finish off your tackles here, mate, and go for the fourth one?
Yeah. I'll go the fourth one. And mine was obviously just quickly touching on the Blues. That obviously Suncorp haven't had the greatest record. I don't know the stats in front of me. I haven't really had time to quickly look at those, but I know it's not fantastic. We don't often win there. We hate deciders up there, so I'm glad you're not going for the win there. But look, it's if there's a New South Wales team that's going to go up there and win well, it's this one. It's high off some emotion and high off really big form, and a key little point where we can sort of navigate a little bit off, but it's something I would love to talk about down the track or in the next video or something a bit more in detail, is that we've picked a lot of players who are in form. And I think I mentioned this to you in the first video, but it shows, and you pick people at the top, their clubs are at the top. We've done that. We've done that with most of our side. And I think it just shows. It showed on the first game where Queensland picked quite a few players who are around the bottom clubs. And I think that sort of showed. And it's a little bit, yeah, it's interesting, but I like the Blues. I like the Suncorp is obviously the Cauldron, and they would love nothing more than to have the decider. Whether people, I hear every year people say that the game's rigged and they always want to go for the decider option, blah, blah, blah. But I don't buy into that. The way they play and the way they throw their bodies around, they're not rigging that. But yeah, a Suncorp's a dangerous beast. It's the only reason why I'm not sitting here going, "Yep, we'll win by another 30 points." It's just got something about it. It's just got a nostalgia about it. 50,000 screaming Maroons fans to about 2,000 New South Wales fans, and it's something else. And yeah, I've got to be honest, I'm a bit worried about it.
Fair enough. I do think, because I'm trying to find the record, and when you go on those websites and you go to subscription, and I can't seem to find it, but I think I do remember seeing something that you guys have a better record at Suncorp than we do at ANZ. I could be wrong there, but yeah, it is. But obviously,
must be just because we don't win many.
Yeah. And I guess, we'll talk about, in my final two tackles, kind of go on to potential reasons why if Queensland to win, these will be the reasons. And I guess we'll touch on, because it might be good to finish on, that one. Yeah, we'll touch on this one first. It's talking about, obviously, your best players, Cleary, obviously Tommy, Latrell, and it's talking about how we're going to stop them. Were you surprised that we didn't select two different centres first off?
Yeah, to be honest. Look, I can understand giving Gagai a second chance. He's shown at rep level before he's up to it. He was given a bit of a bath, so it'll be interesting how he responds. But for mine, I would have been pushing Capewell to the back row or off the bench, and I would have had someone else come on. And it's probably a matter of asking the question who. We obviously discussed, whoever watched the last video. I was a fan of putting Holmes at centre just for that reliability, a bit more attack, but a bit more speed and things like that to sort of keep up with two key centres and a bit more size. But look, you're about to ask me how you can contain the two centres of Mitchell and Turbo. No idea. No idea. They are in that much form at the moment. It is ridiculous. And I haven't seen, especially Turbo, the way that Turbo is playing, I've never seen people. I'm a Para fan. Obviously, I love Jared Haynes' run of 2009, but he is leaps and bounds ahead of him at the moment. What he's doing, both for himself and his teammates, he plays his teammates. Space Jam, where they have to verse those big massive
Yeah, the
things.
Monsters. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's like their verse. It's like all of a sudden Manly turn into them whenever Turbo plays, and when he doesn't, they go into little Tweety birds or something. So it's it's just ridiculous, bro, and it's just something that. And I haven't even mentioned Cleary, but how you stop them? Good luck. No idea. Can't give you anything for it. Maybe try and stop the bus before they get to Suncorp. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's probably a really good strategy, to be honest. It's interesting you touch on Holmes. I'll touch on two things about Holmes. It might help out the centre wing partnership, having someone kind of familiar next to someone that has played, many of Origins on the wing. That's I don't say that with much confidence, but you never know. Little things like that factor into it. For Holmes, because you see that centre take last week, and I pushed back a little bit. If we lose game 2, we go to game 3. I want to see Holmes at centre. See how he goes at centre and see if that's an option for us in the future. Because, like you said last week, just having someone that's just like basically the closest thing we can match in terms of just being an athlete and the speed and the size. Holmes is the best, and he's a top tier player. Like, obviously he's kind of probably not like he's before he went to the NFL, but he'll get there and give him another year and another another little journey round in the Origin arena again. I'd like to see if that's an option, and by doing that, by have thrown him in game 3 next time. I thought about potentially switching sides, Kurt Capewell and Gagai, because I thought obviously Turbo was floating around everywhere, and having Kurtwell hang on, maybe my theory might be big. Who was Capewell? Capewell was marked up against.
Capewell was on
Capewell was on Tommy.
Turbo.
Yeah. No, I think, yeah, like I'd like to see how Capewell would do for Latrell, maybe having a bigger body on Latrell, and then Turbo is least likely to be hovering on the right side compared. But there was just something little. That's really, but honestly, you got to try a few things. That's something I've thought about, maybe just having a bigger body on Latrell. And just basically say, obviously, you're not Will Chambers to Kurt Capewell, and obviously that didn't always work out, but basically say just get in his face, use your big body to your example, and kind of have a strategy to shut down Latrell. Because I think he just, at the end of the day, Gagai just got shown up by him. And I just want to touch on Cleary. Jairo to the edge second row. Is he going to be our Wade Graham? Like, in the sense that what Wade Graham used to do to Cooper Cronk? Is that the theory there? Obviously, Jairo has now got this reputation now of kind of the villain that New South Wales view him as, with the Teddy incident last year, and even had a little bit of a, stink. Well, I wouldn't really call it a stink, but a few little, eyebrow raising moments at the end of last game. The Jairo, is he going to be that Nathan Cleary stopper? Did that surprise you?
Maybe, but Cleary's had that the last year and a half. People join that to him, and he doesn't blink. It doesn't worry him. He just comes back and scores, and ends up scoring 1 or 2 tries. So it's an interesting one because maybe that is the reason he's been asked to start, and he's going to be the enforcer type thing. But and the other thing we've already mentioned is the new rules. You got to be careful if you're going to have that sort of a mind frame, because all it takes is one little slip up and they'll send you either to the bin or off altogether. So you got to be careful. It's gonna be interesting. Cleary's just so smart. I feel like even if someone is like that, he's just got the little ball out wide to either Turbo or Latrell, or even Luai, who I keep saying is the most underrated footballer in the comp at the moment, and doesn't get half the raps I feel like he deserves. He's been in so much form. But yeah, good. It's an answer. I don't know even if I've answered your question, but Cleary's a freak, and he's just I don't know.
Like, I can see incidents where he gets up on his face, niggles him, and shoots at him early, and gets him a few times, but to do it across the whole 80 minutes, and he just seems like you said, he's so smart. It's crazy. He's 2 months younger than me. I just can't believe that. He's just we talk about Tommy. He's impressed me more, Cleary, this year. I've been more impressed with his form. Um, Yeah, and I know it's flip of a coin. I think a lot of people probably lean towards Tommy, but man, he just impressed me so much. And we'll get on to my last point, my sixth and final tackle, and that's basically talking about like if we're going to win. I think there's only a certain amount of guys that can be like man of the match for us, and probably the guy I want to focus on here is the guy that got us across the line last year, Cameron Munster. He's got to have a big game. He's the guy that can create something out of nothing. He's the guy that, he has this effect on others where when he's doing stuff that doesn't seem like can be done, it inspires others. So he's been dealing with some in different form and kind of in a different year, just in terms of being in and out of with injuries and that. So for me, if we're to win, there's only a handful. There's not even a handful, select few, and Munster for me has to be probably closer to man of the match if we're to win on Sunday night. And I think he's got a handy, and also just I think we need to put more pressure on your back three as well. He's got a handy little spiraling bomb if he wants to as well, and I don't think he utilised enough. I think we didn't do. Obviously we were talking about Brian To'o, potentially having that height advantage, height disadvantage, but I didn't really see it put test at times, and I believe Munster and Chivers can do that. So yeah,
hardly used it.
You hardly used it, and and I think that's something we can do, and obviously we can use, like you said before. I think this time around that crowd will be another factor, using that high bomb as well, just another person kind of running down the throat of the receivers. So yeah, what's your thoughts on Munster? Just as in, do you believe like if he's kind of our guy. If we're to win, he has to be a standout.
Well, to put it nicely, he's the only half I'm worried about in the Queensland side. He needs to fire. For mine, he is the man. He needs to come back. Obviously, last year he came back after he was on the piss for basically a week and came in and stole the show. Maybe Paul Green says to him, go out for the next few days, come back the Saturday night and then come and play. That's obviously what works for him. Relax him, and he's got to start. He needs to be man of the match. If Queensland win, he'll be man of the match. So if anyone out there, gamble responsibly, but if Queensland win, Cameron Munster will be your man of the match.
Yeah, honestly, like it's crazy to say, only one person can be man of the match, but if there was to be a time that I'd say that, it definitely would be this weekend.
The only way he might not be is if, because of the hype this week about Walsh, if he does do half decent game, I reckon he'll get it just because of the hype, and all eyes will be on him. So a lot of the time these awards get given to those sorts of players where they respond, they'll do one or two really good things, and everyone will go, oh, yeah, he's man of the match. But all in all, the work that Munster will do here on and off the ball will be the reason. If Maroons win, that'll be the reason because of him.
Yeah, so sometimes you're saying like they pick the narrative over the best, the actual best performer. Yeah, no, good point. I'm just trying to think if we anything to finish off Munster. I just do say that he did look hurt, and you can say what it is until you can be hurt, but you've got to back it up. From what I've seen before, Munster, he turns his words into actions, and that gives me a bit of confidence. And I know he won't want to let the home crowd down as well. So I think we'll leave it there, Joel. Hey, once again, mate, cheers for coming on. And they having a flat out week, so really appreciate it.
Happy to talk a bit of footy.
Yeah, it's always good to talk about footy. Always good to put the mind at ease. And cheers for listening, team. Anything to wrap up, Joel? Oh, go check out Joel, League of Inches. Continuing to do great stuff.
Yeah, well, loving the support for our page at the moment. It's been going gangbusters, really out of nowhere. So I've been shocked, and definitely keeping me busy, loving it. So thank you everyone out there, and obviously it's Luke who's always got me on and been a big supporter ever since we've done our first collab, and that'll keep going. And look, can't wait for Sunday.
I've got to pay the favour. Got to pay the favour one day.
I'm trying to organise. I'm trying to get you on. So, we'll do it soon and do something. But yeah, guys, keep tuning in. He does some great jobs, Luke, and you do a lot of the things that are a bit different, which is great. And I love the ideas you come up with, all the different concepts, and massive league fan. But look, Sunday, can't wait. Origin, the Blues can win one by not even entering home soil yet, which is crazy to think we can do that and go to game 3 and have a bit of a party. So bring it on. I'm going to go Blues by 20. The train rolls on, up the Blues.
Oh, I wasn't thinking about doing predictions. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I want to say right. I'll do 24-20. Now it's gonna be high score. We'll go 26-24 Queensland, and we'll go.
Ooh.
Cameron Munster man the match. Do I believe it? 50% in at the moment, 55% in. So yeah, hopefully it's enough. Hopefully it's enough. Hey, cheers, Joel, and cheers,
No worries.
cheers, team, and I'll catch you guys next week.